is the sound of redemption. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you, exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful, tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud, shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful, tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud, shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shouting loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
So, welcome, guys, to the Eric Dawson radio show. I'm trying to figure some stuff out, Vincent, and I can't figure it out. But we'll try to figure it out as we go along. But I just want to welcome everybody to the show. Are you clear, Vincent?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
All right. Okay. Yep. We are. All right. We're live. Oh, you know what I think is happening?
What's
Which is very
happening?
interesting. I'm not sure whether or not we are live on the Eric Dawson Radio Show Facebook page or if we're live on the Eric Dawson regular page, but we're here. So.
You mean your YouTube?
No. So I have the Eric Dawson Radio Show fan page, right? And then you know how you have your general personal Facebook page?
Right.
Right. So I'm not sure what Facebook is doing. Had some issues this morning logging on. But there's a lot of stuff that Facebook is doing right now during COVID-19 to retool. I don't know if you saw the headline. But one of the things that they're talking about now is being able to scrape through content to verify false content from real content. And so taking on a new journalistic role, right? And from just being a social media platform where people could post what they want to post, Facebook is now becoming an arbiter of truth, if you will, and looking at and making decisions about what should and what shouldn't exist. So it took me about 45 minutes this morning to get my broadcasting software to actually connect to Facebook. I had to go and Google a whole bunch of things to realize that there were some issues with their algorithms and everything in terms of who they were allowing to be able to have access. So things are tightening up. COVID-19 is reshaping a lot of things, including technology, how we can have access to it, what we can post, and I don't know if you saw that there's software now that is looking at that is looking at your geotag based on your phone to determine whether or not we're in fact social distancing enough.
Yes. Yeah, not only are they geotagging and using algorithms to check to see if you're social distancing, they're also checking the content and what people say. So they've been into their non-hate rhetoric, and what I found out with my pages and my posts is that I get haters. I mean, look, I stand for breaking up and destroying a lot of things that people hold so dear, like their political affiliations. So when I go on there and anything that I post up, no matter how politically correct or positive it's sounding, people will report to Facebook. Facebook will tag it. It will block me until they review it, and then they go, okay, you're all right. But that takes 2 or 3 days.
Wow. So that's exactly what's happening. Somebody told me we're broadcasting not from the Eric Dawson Radio Show page, but we're broadcasting from my personal page. So as long as people can see us and get the information, that's what's important. Hey, Vincent, man, what do you think about all of these people who are like now sitting on their porch stoop waiting for their checks to come? Vincent, I mean, how ironic is this?
Yes.
How ironic is it? Now, all of a sudden, you see America mobilized, right? You see them awake now because this has hit home, right? So all of the other issues that we've been talking about for the last 2 years, or even we can go back 5 years, right? During the last presidential election, we're having these conversations, right? And as Kevin often says, you know, as the fight was brewing and as the fight was going on in the streets, a lot of these people, they went in their houses, they locked their doors, they pulled down their shades, and they said, let somebody else do that fight. I don't get involved. And now the fight is on their doorstep. And they still don't want to fight. They just want to stand there and get their check.
Well, one thing I tell you that this virus has done is made made people a lot lazier. People are waking up later now. I mean, it's like having a quasi vacation. They're waking up later, they're doing things later, nobody's getting up because there's no sense of urgency to having to be to work on time. Relaxing and enjoying, which is one of the things that we need to get through this, because we're now into what, day 12?
I don't know, Vincent. I really don't know. I'm just watching, seriously, man, I'm watching human nature, and literally, man, folks are not talking about, they're not talking about what's in the people calling it the stimulus package. I'm calling it democratic socialism on steroids, right? They're talking $7 trillion now that's going to be required to jumpstart the economy, or save the economy, keep everything going. But people are not looking, like, literally, our lack of intellectual curiosity astounds me. Doesn't surprise me, it just astounds me that people, they don't give a shit, Vincent, about how it's going to impact anything else. They just want their check. Just give me my check. Nothing you did. I mean, I am disgusted. Absolutely disgusted at watching this. Just give me my check. How much is my check gonna be? What am I gonna get? How am I gonna? What am I? And then I posted something on my page. I said, you know what? The qualifications for the check ought not be whether you filed taxes last year or what your income is. It should be what your level of participation in our democracy is. If you didn't vote in the last presidential election, you ought not receive a check, maybe. I don't know. Just thinking that there ought to be something tethered to it. That you ought not be able to be a complete disaster in terms of your non-participation, right? I mean, what did Kennedy say? He said something, I'm paraphrasing, but he talked about some of the most dangerous people to our democracy are those who don't get involved. Right, so you ought not be able to be a danger to our democracy by your lack of involvement, but then show up and stick your damn hand out for a check. I gotta tell you, Vincent, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it. I mean, it's just, the few fight, but the many have their hands out. The few show up on the front lines to fight, but the many have their hands out. I'm watching now. People are putting up GoFundMe pages to try to raise money so that folks on the front line of this coronavirus pandemic could get access to PPEs, right? Personal protective equipment, which are gloves and gowns and face masks and shields and all these other kinds of things, right? But the people whose lives they're saving won't put up a damn penny. Not a penny. But they'll stand on their porch waiting for the mailman or mailwoman to come down and bring them their check.
Well, the one thing that you have to do and understand in running for office is that you are to be the man of all the people. Yeah, sometimes that people can... I guess one of the biggest things that you have to develop is to develop the true active nature of love. Because love is one of the strongest things that we possess. And to love, you have to be incredibly strong, because you know that sometimes the people that you love can break your heart. When, I see the passion that you have and for the people. I see the passion and drive that you have to improve the quality of life of the people. But what breaks your heart is that they don't share that same passion. And for them to do the simplest things is like the hardest work for you to do to get them to accomplish. Registering to vote. Get involved to see who is the right candidate and voting. So incredibly hard. And you're right. Lack of intellectual curiosity curiosity, and some people will just basically call it intellectually lazy.
Trifling. See, Vincent, see, I want to, if you go and maybe, you know what, maybe this, they say nothing happens by mistake, right? So maybe broadcasting from my personal page is the way I need to be broadcasting from instead of the Eric Dawson radio show. When I started my personal page, originally it was called Newark Citizen, right? And to kind of give a little history of how I started the page, it was, I believe it was 2010, 2011. It was when Cory Booker was still mayor of the city of Newark, and he was trying to take over Newark's water. And the current Assemblywoman, Shanique Spates, I think Donald M. Payne Jr. had just vacated his seat because his father passed and bequeathed to him, right, the seat in Congress, which, So anyway, so he left there and he went to Congress. There was an open seat on the council. Then Mayor Cory Booker was trying to fill that seat so that he could pass the MUA. And there was a revolt by the council members as he tried to place her on the council for his final yes vote, to put the final nail in the coffin for the residents of the city of Newark. Which is why I don't understand why even the ones who came out for him when he said he was going to run for president, why they came out for him knowing what damage he had already done and wanted to continue to do to the residents of the city of Newark. But that is that Stockholm syndrome you talk about. But when he did that, and a couple of the council members were trying to figure out how to rally the people in Newark, they came up to my dad's office, which was in Irvington at the time when he was alive, to seek his counsel. And I was sitting there because I, was removed from politics, Vincent. I was living my best life in corporate America. And I looked at them and I said, wait a minute, you guys are all elected officials. You don't have a means of communicating with your constituents? You haven't built a vehicle to do that? So they all looked at me like deer in headlights. I went into the back room and Newark Citizen was born, this Facebook page that I dedicated to being a community bulletin board that was going to share news and information. And it astounded me that none of them had thought to do anything like that. So Newark Citizen then became a voice during the mayoral election when Ras Baraka decided to run. I didn't create it Newark Citizen to hide me. I wanted it to be broad enough and not include me to the point that it would limit the reach, right? But as I was becoming more boisterous during the 2014 campaign, folks wanted to know who Newark Citizen was in an attempt to discredit what I was saying. So one of the individuals who happened to be in my dad's office when I created it was on Team Baraka, and so he decided to let everybody know that it was me. And so then I just changed the name from Newark Citizen to Eric Dawson, but declared that I was going to use the page to provoke accountability, right? So that is the overarching umbrella and focus of what it is that I do. So it's not just provoking accountability, Vincent, when it comes to elected officials. It's provoking accountability with the citizenry as well. And so it's easy for them to tune into the show and listen to me beat down a mayor or a county executive or the governor or an assembly person or a state senator or a board member, right? It's easy for them to watch me do that because then they don't have to take any accountability. But then when I turn on them and say, but wait a minute, they're here, why? Because you elected them. Because you sat silent during an election and allowed them to get elected. And so you now have to share in this. Well, now they get caught in their feelings. You see. But when I look now and I see that so many of them, Vincent, who were absent, silent, who literally just said that they don't want to be involved in this, who ridiculed the idea of all of the democratic socialism that has been talked about, and talked about this rugged individualism, pull yourself up by your own bootstrap stuff. Well, I say, well, then do that now. Give the check back. Be a man. Be a man. Give the check back and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. See, corporate America, they realize that that ain't the name of the game. And they always did, even though they were selling us a crock of bull, right?
Right.
See, they were taking corporate welfare and telling us that the reason our small businesses weren't achieving is because we just weren't working hard enough, right? Or the reason why disadvantaged families were not achieving is because we somehow weren't working hard enough. That had nothing to do with government intervention in a time where you may have been disadvantaged because of no fault of your own and fallen behind, right? I've always talked here about government being a bridge to help those who need that assistance, right? But the Republican Party during this campaign and the centrist part of the Democratic Party during this campaign has talked about us being like Venezuela if we think like I'm thinking, or being like some other fallen countries who have gone the way of socialism. I was never talking about going the way of socialism. I was talking about democratic socialism, the government doing what it's supposed to do in time of need. And so now, because it's reached your shoreline, you still haven't ascribed to democratic socialism, right? You've ascribed to give me something. Not caring about your fellow man, your fellow small business owner, who has been the backbone and the anchor of building up communities. It's about you. Selfish little old you. I'm sorry, Vincent. I just had to be on my soapbox this morning, man.
It's been a pretty tall box for you this morning. Well, here's what I've hoped, and is this: we deal with people who are selfish, but yet still, we being politicians or aspiring to be politicians, those are the people that we have to put the greatest amount of work in to help. We deal with people who have bought into the capitalist mode and striving to live the American dream, to achieve, to live a better life, and to provide a better life for them and their families. Still a level of selfishness, but we still legislate to benefit them as well. We deal with people who are passionate about life and what they're doing and what they're saying and what they're being and the shape and development of how they see America. We still are a politician for them as well. As the Apostle Paul says, is that one of the things of life experience is that I know a lot of things so that I can be a lot of things to a lot of people. They are. And hopefully elevate them, because as we elevate them, they elevate us. Yes, we have politicians that are not in there to help the common man. They're in there to help their own pockets, and they find that politics is the best way to do it. We have politicians that are not politicians to write legislation, to change so that we can set an example for the rest of the world of how a country ought to be run. No, they're in there because big corporations pay them a lot of money to fuel their campaigns. And big corporations then call in their chips by getting them the right legislations in their favor. And then we have politicians who are true. truth to their people, never forgetting where they come from, never forgetting what the fight is all about.
I think that those I think that those are very few and far in between. I think probably less than 1% of the politicians down in Washington are fit in the category you're about to describe.
Well, let's put it this way: if you and I are elected, then that percentage increase, and we set the example for the next group who want to do what's right. We have to stay in the fight. This is not going to be a take a pill and we're going to cure everything
I'm
in
not
this country.
suggesting at all. Well, firstly, I want to welcome the queen of the show, Diana Murray Clemens, just called in on the line. How you doing, sis?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And
You know,
Good morning,
but I
Diane.
want to say that you know where I am. I want another great flood to come.
are you kidding?
No,
This
I'm
is
not. I want
fun.
another great flood to come, and
This is it.
I'm sorry.
This is it.
This is the flood.
No, I don't think it is. This is just a like a mist, a shower. I want a flood. Like I do. I want a flood, and I want all of the people who are breathing air that more useful people could breathe. I want them to be wiped out in the flood. They gotta go. My father said, those who you won't let die won't let you live. And they just gotta go. They gotta go.
Plato says those who do not get involved with their government are doomed to live by their rules.
Right. And but they're dragging us down too. Get off my ankles. I'm telling you. I just go.
You know, Eric, I know how you feel because sometimes that passion that we have gets the best of us.
Listen, if the truth is that we're only as strong as our weakest link, if that is true,
Yes.
then we got to cut the weakest links. Because trying to elevate them, we just don't have enough bandwidth to do that. We don't have enough time to do that. I mean, I'm telling you. Listen, the way that I'm thinking about this, I'm looking at it. Time is running out. It is running out. We don't have time for games. It's sometimes it's got to be one and done. I'm gonna tell you this information, and it's kind of like if you knew a building was on fire. How long are you gonna stand there trying to rescue somebody who's just asking you asinine questions before you say, "Well, then you just stay. I'm out." And so I'm saying that it's an inferno right now, and you have people who are so asinine in their thinking, and we could discuss the reasoning behind it, right? We could talk about the pervasive socially transmitted diseases and all of those other kinds of things. I got it. But at some point, I gotta say it's getting hot in here. I'm trying to pull you out. And you asking me questions that you should know the answer to. Goes back to the other day when I told you I posted something about the Cuban doctors on my page.
Yeah.
I said, what about? I said, hey, what do you think about these Cuban doctors now? And somebody came on my page and said, what about them? I haven't been keeping up with the news. Well, go read it. You're on your phone, but instead of you being conditioned to go and Google and say, well, let me see what he's talking about. You now want me to stop what I'm doing and catch you up. No, I don't have time for that anymore.
You know, Eric, Tuesday, we did the talking with some people from the prison ministry, the alumni of prison, who are big brothers, I guess, or mentors of other people being re-immersed into society.
Right.
And it's incredible how popular false information is. I spent 2 hours expressing to them and straightening out and telling them the truth because they believe that Bill Gates had a patent for the coronavirus.
But listen, is it that, or is it the fact that they don't have real critical analytical thinking, and that's why a lot of people are easily persuaded by what they hear. And all you do is pass on one rumor to the next rumor. If you say it long enough, people believe it to be true.
Right, but Diane,
Diane,
I agree
right.
with you.
You're absolutely right, and that's what it's all about.
But then how much time, my question is, Diane, how much time should I spend, like, trying to catch you up, as opposed to running as fast as I can so the tsunami doesn't overtake me? You see, because it's coming. And the longer I stand here with you, and your lack of critical thinking and your immature perspective on what's going on, right? The closer the tsunami is getting to both of us. Now, because I know, I think that at some point I'm being derelict and not running and leaving you. And that's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, in my ears, my dead father's voice saying, son, those who you won't let die won't let you live. Run.
Okay.
So, we gotta figure it out. You know, look, and both you and Diane, you and Vincent, yesterday I was talking to both of you about this thing that I got involved in, right, or tried to get involved in, regarding these N95 masks, right? So I'm watching this. This is, guys, share this, because this is real. When you sit, now watch, before I say this, I'm going to preface it by saying folks are going to focus on the wrong thing here. And this is going to show their level of immaturity. But when you sit and watch Governor Cuomo talk about the lack of PPEs, and specifically I'm talking about the N95 masks, or when you listen to Governor Murphy talk about wanting to buy them, but they're not available, these N95 masks. I personally contacted folks in both of their administrations and told them that there were millions of masks available yesterday, and the day before yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that, in factories that I'm personally in contact with in China and Indonesia. They are so inept, that not a single phone call came back, not even inquiring. But I'm watching them on the news saying that we'll buy them wherever they are. And I'm telling you, I didn't delegate it to somebody to call them. I personally was on the phone all yesterday until I just pooped out. Literally, I just fell asleep with my phone on my chest. I was so tired making phone calls. Not a phone call back. What does that tell you? Meanwhile, because you and I talked, Vincent, right?
Yeah.
And when we talked, I told you at that point, the amount of the masks were, well, actually, when I first contacted those offices, the price of the masks were $2.60 a mask. I'm gonna lay it out for you why you guys are not getting masks, or why your loved ones who are on the front lines are not getting masks. So the masks were $2.60 a mask.
Mm-hmm.
I had some local government officials, local towns, because they don't have massive budgets. So they were calling in saying, Eric, can you get me 10,000 masks? Eric, I want 20,000 masks. I want 50,000 masks. So the folks that I have boots on the ground in Indonesia and in China, they were trying to get into those factories to get those masks manufactured. But the manufacturers were getting from other countries larger quantities. They were getting quantities in the millions. So they were telling our people, we can't stop our production on 5 million masks to print 10,000 for you. You have to up your number to get at the table to negotiate for the time that we're manufacturing, because time is money. we couldn't get enough volume to get those masks produced, so we had to turn down the purchase orders. So then I went to larger purchasing agents like county and state and said, look, maybe you all need to rethink how you're doing this. Maybe you all need to purchase and then distribute down to the municipal levels. They can't think like that. They're not trained to think like that. They're not agile enough. And so what happened yesterday, because I've been trying to get this done, those masks that were available, because there were initially 5 million available, and then they told me they had 10 million available. Those masks got sold for $7 a mask by other countries, because they cared more about protecting their people than we care here. They paid almost double to pull those masks off the production line and take them to their countries. Now, I got a call late last night saying, hey, Eric, listen, the prices have changed. And understand why the prices have changed. And so people are talking about gouging, right? Because these masks usually cost about $1 a mask, right?
74 cents.
74 cents. But given the climate, the value has changed. And those who are producing them hold all of the cards.
That's right.
Right? So when they look and say, well, wait a minute, you really need it? Or do you really, really need it? So when you say I really, really need it, guess what? The price goes up. Right? So now it's an open market, not just in America, globally. So everybody's calling these factories. Everybody. First, China needs them, and the factories in China. Right? Then you've got Italy needs them. Right? Then you got all these countries who need them. And so here we're engaged in politics. Here we have people appointed to positions that they're ill-equipped to be appointed to. Right? And so nothing is happening. But it's not because the masks aren't there. They're there. I'm telling you they're there. But we lack the acumen in our government to be able to move in an effective way to protect American lives. That is fact. And so, yeah, I blame those who are sitting in those seats, those who are collecting those massive paychecks right now, while you're being told to
get $1,200 if you are paying your taxes.
That's absolutely right. So they're making massive money right now, making no critical decisions because they don't know how to. And people's lives are on the line. Your family members' lives are on the line. So yes, I blame them for accepting roles that they're ill-equipped to have. And yes, I do blame the politicians for giving those jobs to people merely because they knocked on some doors for them or they did some phone banking for them. But then I also blame you for tolerating it. And so this is the landscape that we have now. And that's why I'm so angry, because I'm looking going, a lot of this doesn't have to be. A lot of what we're experiencing right now here with this pandemic doesn't have to be. Right? But we want to be distant from it. We want to say, oh, Donald Trump, he could have acted. Well, what could you have done? To ensure that he wasn't there in the White House as president. So again, in my ear, listening to my father say, those who you won't let die, son, won't let you live. And so when I see Donald Trump, when I see this ineptitude, when I see all of these things happen, I'm not just looking at those politicians. I'm looking at all of you who are not intellectually curious enough to want to save all of our lives. But you're going to stand on your stoop to get your check.
So, and the point that you were making, because Eric's going to be on this soapbox, all day.
No, not really, because I'm about to pull him off with another subject. We're not going to do that today.
But Diane, you made a very good point, and of the people with the misinformation and misconception. The whole thing is not understanding what this quote-unquote stimulus package contains, but basically they have an understanding of, I'm getting $1,200, and I'm going to invest my $1,200 so that I can make more money, so that I can be in big business, or, of course, engage in the capitalistic society that has got us to this point.
Well, individually, $1,200 really won't do a lot for anybody. Many people, the $1,200 may just pay a portion of their rent, not even their full rent. So to think that that's going to happen, that you're going to invest and come up with $1,200, it's not happening. Now, if everybody in the family is getting a check and you're all living in one house and everybody's good, then there's a possibility of, channeling all your money together and then maybe doing something at a later point. But even saying that, if you're talking about going out and buying a property, trying to get a mortgage right now, that's not going to be happening, because they're not going to be lending out money like that for things and such. I was reading an article in the newspaper earlier yesterday, and Murphy is now talking about that he's looking at a homeowner's mortgage relief. However, which is interesting, because I don't know how that might work in New Jersey, because many people, especially many Black and brown people, have mortgages that have been funneled through the FHA, which is a federal backed loan. And
right.
FHA has not yet come out, the federal government has not yet come out to say anything in regards to reprieving anybody of their mortgage payments, or anything as that such. But he does say that he is looking into it. He said he already ordered evictions and foreclosures to stop in the state for people that have been affected by the virus. And in fact, everybody's been infected. So that affects everybody.
Everybody, right?
Been touched, whether you had a job before this happened, or whether you was a multimillionaire. Everybody has been affected in some way. The other thing is, when we were talking about Andrew Cuomo and the misconception of how people look at things, he also talked about giving 90-day reprieve for the lenders there in the state of New York. And he was working on issuing a grant through their Department of Financial Services. Not sure how that, again, is going to work, because, like I said, a lot of mortgages are backed by federal loans. And the reason why is because we have veterans who get
Veterans Administration, VA loans.
Exactly, which is federal. You have people who, the first-time homeowner programs, a lot of them are back through the federal government. Right. You have so you have all of these loans, mortgage loans, that are connected or backed by the federal government. So, but the federal government has not once come out yet and said we're going to stop this.
Well, let's look at it and tell the truth. When we're saying the federal government right now, we're saying Trump. Now, right. Trump has came out, and he's championing for the rich and the big businesses to get the lion's share of this $2 trillion. We are now in the world where we now live in America, where trillions of dollars is going to be part of our deficit. But this $2 trillion, which the lion's share goes to the rich. Now, with a stroke of his pen, he can call the FHA and VA and say, listen, we are going to stay the mortgages until this pandemic subsides and America and the economy is back and running. No, that's not what our president is doing. Our president says, I want the country running by Easter.
Yeah, and the problem, see, what people don't understand is, okay, so if Murphy says that he's going to stop evictions and he's going to stop foreclosures, that does not mean the money is still not going to be due.
No.
When people take the money from paying the mortgage and take the money from paying rent, and they allocate it towards food and clothing or whatever they need to keep the lights on, whatever it is that they need while they're staying at home, while they're not working, when they go back to work and this is over, all of that money for each month that they have not paid, it's still going to be due. He said that he was going to reprieve the interest on it as well. But again, when you're talking about federal-backed loans, you can't say that for them. So
Well,
there are a lot of people thinking, oh, I'm not going to have to pay. It's good. They'll tack it on to the ends of my mortgage. Well, I suggest everybody individually that has an open mortgage, still has money owed on their mortgage, you need to call your mortgage company. You need to call them and let them know that you need to work out a plan to some way, whatever plans that they have available at their company, to make sure that you can make your payments at a later time so they can push the payments back, as well as the interest, as well as eliminating any late fees. Because don't go by what Murphy's saying. Call your landlords, call your mortgage companies.
Right. Negotiating with them is the first step, and always one of the best. The next thing, and what Murphy actually is doing, and a lot of people don't understand about New Jersey. New Jersey has the New Jersey Constitution, which makes it separate and autonomous to anything federal, in which they have the ability to override. What he's looking to do is take that executive order, because also what you're looking at in terms of the mortgages, foreclosures, and evictions, that's all New Jersey government. It's the state police, it's the state sheriff, or the county sheriff, which is basically taken care of and governed by the state. So he does that. He does have that power temporarily to make that happen. But you are right. The first step is to negotiate with your landlord, and negotiate with your mortgage companies, because they have a lot of people working from home. But also what you have to look at is, now a lot of people, what they need to do is file a letter with the credit reporting bureaus that state that, I am being affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and all bills will be paid up to or will be addressed at the time the pandemic is over. Because one of the things that's happening, and it's happening to me, we've been buying a home. Everything has been slowed down to an actual trickle because of the pandemic. So also you have to look at what people look with credits, and it is the credit bureau. So sending a letter out to them gives them your statement of how you're affected, because people look at everybody as they have the ability and they're just lazy and don't want to do it. Right. So you're right. Address all those financial things right now.
Yeah.
And
all your credit card companies, whether it's the Lord and Taylor's or the Macy's or Ashley Stewart's or wherever it is that you shop at, you have to call, you have to negotiate, and what you want to tell them is, I've been affected, whether it's by you lost your job, you lost your income, or the breadwinner in the house has lost their income, and you need to move back your payments, and you're asking them to remove and not to add any late fees or penalize you. Because if they penalize you, just so people know about credit, say your credit card is due on the 5th, payment is due on the 5th. By the 7th, they have already reported to the credit bureau.
Correct.
Whether their payment has been on time or late.
Correct.
So you have a very, very small window. So that's why when they say if your payment is due on the 5th, you need to have your payment into them by the 1st. So this way, when they run the report on the 7th and send it out to credit bureaus, because they do it monthly, every credit card company does it monthly, it will affect your credit. And like you in your situation, if you're in the midst of buying a house now, because I was same situation like you're in now, when 9/11 happened, I was in the middle of buying my house. Literally supposed to be closing on my house in September, and spoke to the underwriter, and the underwriter knew that I worked at the World Trade Center, and called to see if I still had employment. Because they need to make sure those payments are able to go forward. So you got to get to them before they come to you, because when they come into you, it's too late. You need to be attacking this immediately. Make a list of all your people you got to pay, and start calling them. Call everybody.
Stop calling ID and the credit cards the credit card companies, and talk to them. Be direct. Be upfront. Don't think that this is going to go away. You have to take action, because I really don't want to hear another Eric Dawson soapbox about people being intellectually lazy and not handling their fiscal obligations with their credit card.
But
And another thing, absolutely, another thing on the insurance side, your auto insurance, your homeowner's insurance, you have monthly payments that are coming out of your checking account. You might want to call and cancel that, but you also want to call them and tell them that you have been affected and you need them to move the payments back. Insurance companies are doing that. They are working with them. I just got an email from Progressive Insurance, which is the largest insurance company. And the president came out and sent all the agents a video about how they are financially good. And if you have issues with clients that cannot pay, to call and they will negotiate and set up a different payment plan for you. So homeowners insurance, auto insurance, whatever the company is, call them now and negotiate something to make a lower payment or to move the payment back at least a month or 2 months to give you time to catch up. And this way your insurance won't cancel, because remember, you're still out there with no insurance. You're going to get hit by so many different fees from the insurance company for motor vehicles, so you still want to stay on top of that too. That's the
by the way, you need to be aware of the loophole. You are getting right now, and you're calling them to activate right now your 2-week hold, because nationally we're on a 2-week hold. Now, so what's going to happen is in the next 4 days, when they find out that this 2 weeks was bogus, and we're going even further, because let's look at it. Everybody looks at the news.
Well, it's definitely going to be further, because President Dum Dum even came out and said, we're going to be back by Easter. So his date in his head is Easter, which is April 16th or something like that. But still, it's going to be further than that. Because as you can see on other ends, like with the tax submissions, your tax dates have been moved from April 15th to July. Right. So there are a lot of things that are going to be moved back, but you need to stay on top of that stuff as well. And the other thing that's going to happen, which is funny, because when things open back up, childcare is going to be prime, because the thing is, and our child care providers are going to have to figure out something too with payment plans, because people who have been sitting at home don't have money because they don't have an income. But as soon as it opens back up, they're going to need to go back to work, and then they're going to need their kids to go back into child care. So there has to be some way that they work it out, that you're not paying a deposit up front or paying, to get your kid re-enrolled again, that they can go right back into child care.
No, you know what's going to happen, Diane? No.
Everybody's going to work that $1,200.
No. What's going to happen is this. Those who are prepared will move forward. Those who are not will suffer. So those people who are prepared, there are people who are waiting for opportunity, right? We talked about this on a previous show, right? So there's some people who are waiting for an opportunity. And so a job that somebody else might have had, but they weren't prepared now for this, right? They're not doing the necessary things, all things that you're talking about, to be prepared financially to go back when everything opens up. Well, that's going to create an opportunity for somebody else, right? And that person who is prepared, when this person can't find daycare, when the job calls them back and they say, I can't come because I don't have daycare, and that job has to let that person go, well, there'll be somebody else who will fill that position because they'll be prepared. So I don't want to get to a point where we're dumbing down to meet the needs of people who don't prepare themselves.
But preparation goes along with financial sometimes. Sometimes you can't prepare. Like, for instance,
some people will be. Listen.
You can't prepare for this.
Listen.
There are some people, Eric, we talked about it before. There are some people that cannot handle a $400 emergency.
I get it.
And this is where we're at. So now that $400 emergency is now a $1,200 emergency.
But you know what, though, Diane? But again, what I'm saying to you is this. For those people who couldn't handle a $400 emergency, they had an opportunity to get involved, right? They had an opportunity to get involved a long time ago in ensuring that people were put in place to shape policies that could help them, give them some sort of a social safety net. They chose not to do it. They chose not to do it.
Intelligent.
Eric, you're going back 7 shows now.
intelligent.
but my point to you is
Have
this.
that.
But my point to you is this: if we just keep staying in this space where all these people are, and we don't advance beyond it, I want to say to them, hey, look, here's what you should have done. If you didn't do it, Diane just gave you some other things that you could do. If you choose not to do that, like Kevin always said, then dig a ditch and jump in it. We got to end this conversation. We got to talk about those people who have prepared and stop talking about those people who refuse to prepare. See, because there's some people who just refuse to. But we stay in this space instead of talking about those people who are preparing. So yes, I say spend a little bit of time talking about this, give them the information, do it, and then we got to move on. But I'm not suggesting, I'm not going to tell some daycare provider who has put themselves in a position to be able to open when this thing resolves itself, that now you need to adjust your business for all of these. No, open your business for the people who prepared, who can write you a goddamn check.
Yeah, well, the people that are prepared are usually not the ones that's going to these particular daycares because they're not concerned about whether their daycare will open, whether the daycare
Well, then you know what then? See, but then so again, I want to top grade. I want to.
Yeah.
So in corporate America, we call this top grading, right? Where you're constantly moving up. So what I want to say to these daycare providers right now is, if you're preparing to reopen, maybe you want to do a little remodeling right now because you want to appeal to another audience.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm
Right.
getting to, Diane? So don't stay where you are.
That's positive, Eric. That's very positive.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So don't keep your daycare waiting for these people who won't be able to pay you. No, build your daycare up. Maybe put some plush carpet in, maybe change the flooring, maybe put some toiletry in, maybe do some of those things so that that next group of people can come in and you can offer them a lower rate than they were used to paying, but a higher rate than you were used to getting. You see what I'm saying? But don't. That's where I want to be. I don't want to, because if you don't do that, you daycare person, those people who you won't let just die, just go, they're not going to let your business survive, because you're going to wind up with a bunch of crazy nonsense. People trying to negotiate deals with you. I put a little something on it, and now your business is going to be strangled. You know that's the truth. Come on, let's have an honest conversation. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't. And now you're strapped for cash because these people, and you got, and now their problem becomes your problem. Don't let their problem become your problem. If you solved your problem, then move on up.
I got to agree with him on that point. 100%. Especially because I used to own daycare. And I got and I got that a lot.
Yes.
And
you might want to open up a daycare when this is over, because that's where the money's going to be.
Hey, listen, I'm looking at the studio, Diane, and I'm doing a cost-benefit analysis. I'm saying...
So, Eric, tell me, what would you tell the rest of my owners? Because they are losing big right now.
Right. So here's the deal with the restaurant owners. You have to become more creative, right? So DoorDash and Uber Eats are trying to help you out because they're offering free delivery, right? So because they're suffering too. If you suffer, they suffer. Because if you close, they got no food to deliver, right? So they're trying to create these partnerships to say, hey, listen, we're going to take some of the money off of the person who is being asked to stay at home, and you can get your food delivered at no cost. You, as a restaurateur, have to try to create partnerships like that as well. And one of the other things you have to do is you have to cut the fat, right? So, you're gonna have
you are cutting the fat because you don't have the wait staff. So it's basically you and the cook. And what you can do is take the wait staff and now turn them into your delivery drivers.
And then and the other thing I wouldn't turn them. I would use DoorDash and Uber Eats because they're delivering for free. So I wouldn't take I wouldn't take on that expense, because now, if that becomes your driver, then you got gas expense, you got car insurance expense.
But you're still paying them for something. That's what I'm saying. You're keeping them employed.
No, but this is what I'm saying. So you may have to go real lean right now. You may have to get rid of that person. This is what I'm saying. You may have to get rid. I mean, look, you gotta cut as much fat as you can to keep your business open so that at some point you can hire people back. But if you go under trying to keep that person afloat, then you got nothing to give anybody. Put your mask on. So here's the advice. Put your mask on first. Right, what they say with the airplane.
Eric's got a lot of masks, y'all. Buy Eric Dawson mask.
Well, what do they say in an airplane? When an airplane is going down, secure your mask first. And right now, I fear that a lot of restaurateurs are not securing their masks first. They're trying to put masks on their employees. Meanwhile, the plane is going down, in flames. So put your mask on first. Here's the other thing that I would suggest to you. When I say trim the fat, reduce some of the items on your menu now. You see, you can't, because you're going to have a lot of waste. Because if you're ordering like you were ordering and trying to fulfill all those things on the menu, keep it to the bare minimum now.
So what would you do? Would you go through your menu and just do what your top selling items were and do those items that are cost effective?
That's absolutely right.
Absolutely.
See, your top selling item yesterday ain't your top selling item today. Because like you said, Diane, that $1,200 or whatever people are getting ready to get is not going to go a long way. So you have to change with the times and look and say, well, what can I offer that is economically, attractive, right? Partnering with DoorDash and Uber Eats who are delivering for free. That people could, like I saw the Montclair Diner, they posted it, and this is not a plug for them. But I saw they posted something, and they posted a new menu where they're delivering food for a family of 4. So they're not putting single entrees together now. Because they're realizing that families that people are looking and saying, how do I feed my family? Not just me, right? So they put these entrees together, not just for dinner, but for lunch and for breakfast too. So now this is in Montclair. So I'm not expecting somebody.
Bulk.
I'm not expecting somebody.
Doing individual dinners, they're doing the same dinner for.
They're doing a package deal.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm not expecting a person in Newark necessarily to
go
there. But what that restaurant in Montclair did was they said, even in Montclair, with these high salaries, some of these people are going to start struggling a little. Their struggle may be different than the struggle of the person in Newark, right? But it's still a struggle. And so the restaurants that they're used to going to are making adjustments to meet those individual struggles. And so if you're a restaurant in Newark and your clientele was coming out of Newark or Irvington or East Orange, some lower level, some lower income communities, you got to adjust to that.
Gotcha. Okay, so let me give you another one. What about your typical clothing store, retail store?
Listen, can I tell you this? A lot of them are just going to...
It's
right?
over.
Yeah, it's over for them. But here's the good news for the consumer. Here's the great news for the consumer, right? All those stores, because understand their purchasing cycle. They purchase things before the season hits, right? So they've already made their spring purchases and in some cases their summer purchases. So those things are coming in. They're not selling them. Why? Because you're sheltering in place right now. So they're going to be massive sales. What?
On Lord & Taylor's website, and y'all know why I was on Lord & Taylor's website for my cousin, but on the website, they are now giving discounts to brand name
That's what I was saying.
That have never done discounts before.
That's right, because they got that inventory, and they're already looking at fall lines. So they got to figure out how to get rid of their spring line. They got to figure out how to get rid of the summer line. And they are because they recognize what's going to happen, right? We're going to inventory it, right? Because if you now gotta store this, it's costing you money, so they gotta offload it, right? So they're going to be offloading the spring line, they're going to be offloading the summer line at discounts because they got to get ready for the fall line. So for you consumers, right? Listen, this is the best time to buy off season. Wear what you got now. You're going to get much better later for a lot cheaper. Trust me.
Okay, so what about your travel industry. You have the travel agencies.
It's over.
Listen, take your money.
Spread the virus.
Take your money.
No, Vincent, we have to be serious.
No, I'm being very serious. Take your money, and if you have some money, I'm being very serious, Diane. If you have a little bit of money, invest it in the travel industry.
Because it's about to start booming again when it comes back.
Right. But but you want to buy it because it's hitting a low. It's like going real low, and you just want to.
What you're saying is instead of investing
in a ticket to fly somewhere, invest in the stock.
Yeah, because 2 weeks ago I said a trip for 4 adults, 2 hotel rooms, round trip, straight flight to Greece was, I think, $5,000 at that time. It has since come down. So instead of investing $5,000 towards the trip, take your $5,000, invest it towards the stock inside of travel.
Right. Now's the time, Diane, for us to focus on assets and not liabilities. See, the asset is investing in the travel industry. The liability is buying the plane ticket, right, and being a consumer in the hotels and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to do that. Now, see, it runs contrary to what they're telling you on the news, right? Because what they're saying is we want to pump this money into the hands of people because we want them to lose their minds and go and spend it to build up the economy. No.
Right.
No. That's not what people who have money are doing.
No.
You know, and so they had to figure out another way. But unfortunately, we're going to have a lot of people who are going to do just that. They're going to take their money, they're going to go buy flat screen TVs, they're going to go do some other kinds of things, and they're going to be broke.
And they're going to get ready for the Super Bowl party, watching their big 75-inch screen TV.
Okay, so next industry, we have the beauty industry, hair salons, barbershops. There's going to be, I believe, once they reopen again, a lot more clients than before. How can they revamp? Because what you don't want is one-time customers. How will they be able to capture and keep those customers and do better than they were doing before? Because I think any barbershop or hairstylist who's not making $10,000 a month is doing something wrong, because there's money out there to be made with hair and beauty. What are your suggestions?
Well, I think that with hairstylists, when you get back, once this thing starts bouncing back, there are going to be a lot of hairstylists have gone out of business. You got to understand, there's going to be a lot of shifting. So hair salons that they're going to be vacant, spaces, retail spaces, because they're not going to be there anymore. And you, if you happen to stay afloat, what I would say is market a very attractive marketing offer, because what you want to do is introduce yourself to new people, right? People who are now going to be out there looking for a hairstylist or looking for a barber because their barber went out of business or had to move to a more affordable state, right? So they're gone. And so how you put a package together, a marketing package that, gives like a steep discount for first time customers, right? See, that is the thing. If you're a first time customer, we'll give you this discount, because now what you want to do, you don't want to make a profit off that first time customer the first time they come in there. That's the moment for you to introduce yourself, show what a great stylist you are or makeup artist you are, whatever it is that you do. I don't know what happened to you, Vincent, but keep it off.
Okay, I got an emergency I got to take care of, gentlemen.
All right, but in the future, let me know, brother, so that there we go. Hold on for 1 second. Let's see if I can get my sound together. Okay.
Okay. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Be safe out there.
Take care.
Love you all. Oh, and I want to thank Farrakhan. He signed the petition.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks. Enjoy the weekend, Vincent.
God bless.
But what I was saying, Diane, is that it's an opportunity for you to introduce yourself, to show why you are the next person that could take care of this client or potential client's needs, right? And again, it would be in some marketing material that would go out if you can. They have what do they call it? Every Door Direct, like the mailer that you can do. which is not terribly expensive. And you go to the post office, you do a little flyer, and you take them 5,000 of them, and what they'll do is they'll drop it on every door or put it in every mailbox, and you just follow the rule of thumb in marketing that
Okay. So with that, advertising and marketing, how do you negotiate in this time? So say you're a beauty salon or something like that, and you want to do that, and you know you're about to reopen. How do you, or any business, how do you negotiate with the marketing agencies or companies now to get a better rate than their standard rate, so that you can make money and get new clients, and they still are doing business? Because I'm sure the marketing and advertising business has had a hit as well.
Yeah, everybody has, right? So
Yeah.
you just have to shop around. So the ones that are opening, I always say, go get 5 or 6 rates, and then go back to so you get a rate from one, you go get a rate from another one. You may go call the other one back and say, listen, I just got off the phone with this with another agency, and they offered me this. Can you offer me something better? Sometimes they'll say no, but most times in this kind of climate, they'll say yes. They'll try to work with you. Nobody's trying to lose an opportunity. Yeah, nobody's trying to lose an opportunity right now.
Okay. Important. People need to know. We got a lot of business owners that listen and need to. So what do you suggest they should be doing at this time, by using their social media platforms to advertise, to market, until they get up and running?
So they tell you to socially distance, right? Yourself. But I don't know that means necessarily abandon your business. You have to figure that out. Like, and I get that they're saying, be responsible and all of those kinds of things, Diane. But the question that I want to ask is this: if you are and because I'm pausing because I don't want to be irresponsible in what it is that I'm saying, right? But if you are a beautician, and now you're working and now you got to be home.
Right.
The question that I want to ask is this, because they say that you can take a walk, that you should keep, I guess, 6
feet distance.
6 feet distance. The question I want to ask is, because you have to go to the store, and when you're paying for things and you're doing stuff like that, you're not 6 feet away. You know what I mean? You're just not. And
We
so,
should. Yeah.
yeah, but I'm saying, when there are places that you go during the course of the day to conduct business. There are people who have to be in environments where they're just not 6 feet away. And the question is, can you protect yourself? When you're talking about N95 mask and gloves and those kinds of things, enough to be able to conduct your business maybe at home, one customer at a time, so you make a little bit of money. Here's another. Yeah, make it work for you. Here's another thing that I would suggest is a great.
Why not using social media and doing videos and stuff like that?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Another option is you can do how-to videos.
Right.
Right. For you don't want to give away any of your hardcore secrets that keep them coming, right? But you can give them enough information that positions you as an expert in the field.
Okay, so like maintenance stuff. So like, for instance, you had that dumb article yesterday about what black women gonna do because we can't get to the beauty shop. They could do maintenance stuff on how to care for your hair or what to do, how to brush your wig. I don't know.
Right. No.
Not to brush stuff and throw it in the bag, stuff like that.
That's
Get money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have some money in the system, I'm
Okay.
going to be very serious, Diane.
So they could do things like that, and I would encourage them to. To pursue that in creating these videos, these how-tos. I've seen a couple of restaurant owners doing that. Here, we even thought about, doing some stuff like that.
something similar to like a cook thing. How
Yeah.
to make
Yeah.
something.
You want to, if you can, stay in the. Oh, here's the other thing that you can do. You can work to build up your email marketing list, right? You can work to build up your social media following. So you can work to do those things so that when business opens again. So imagine this. Imagine if you spent the time and you know what? Hey, look, here is a great time to learn how to build a website. A great time. There is what is it called? WordPress has a tool. Oh, what is it called, Diane?
I don't use WordPress.
No,
I
no.
use Publisher.
Which
that
one
stuff.
do you use?
I use Microsoft Publisher and stuff.
But there is a WYSIWYG or what they say.
Wix.
Oh, you use Wix? Well, any of those now, right? A lot of them have.
I use GoDaddy.com. They do my they host it, but somebody else designed my website. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Right.
You can do it on WordPress, Wix, even on GoDaddy. You can go in, you can design your own, or you can have them design it for you.
Yep. And so you can, but if you don't have money, you have time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you don't have money, you have time now.
And you can YouTube the instructions.
You can YouTube the instructions. So take the time. So instead of watching, these reality shows, instead of getting caught up in these court TV drama shows and letting your day go by, the question that you should be asking yourself is, at the end of the day, at the end of an 8-hour day, so work for yourself. So at the end of that 8 hours, whatever block of time you
set aside.
You set aside, how productive were you, and what was the value added to your overall life?
So, you know, what I've learned when I've gone to a lot of entrepreneur workshops and stuff, they always talk about the business owner is always working in the business, and you never have a work opportunity to work on the business, which is different. That's so right. Now with opportunity, you can work on your business, growing your business, instead of being hands-on in the business, doing the business itself.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And that's what I'm suggesting you do. So look at all of the components of the business that you can strengthen up, right? So I'm talking about the possibility of putting out a mailer, right? So don't wait until, the economy shifts and things start opening up to start thinking about your mailer. Have it ready to go. Right? So spend the time working on the verbiage, spend the time working on the photographs, spend the time working on the design now. And then once you have that done, just set it aside, because all you have to do now is push a button and send it to the printer.
Absolutely. Michael Spruce at YouTube University, I guess they have something where you can Google a lot of different stuff. But on YouTube and just out there on the web, you can Google how to a lot of things, designing websites and all these different things.
Diane, listen, the software that I'm using to broadcast this show.
Don't give out all the secrets now. There you go.
No. Listen. But I went to YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I went to YouTube. First, I went to YouTube to investigate, right, what was out there, and then I found a couple of options, and then this one seemed to be the one that would work best for what we were trying to do. So then I downloaded the software, and then I went to YouTube to figure it out. Now, it takes some time, right? You got to be disciplined to go through the videos because it's arduous, right? But I did it, And in fact, look, I want to tell this story too. Here's a great time, guys. If you look, the other thing that you should be doing during this time is investigating whether or not you've outstayed your welcome in whatever industry you were currently in. Maybe
so this is an opportunity you're saying to say, if the business was not doing well, that this is your out.
This is your out. Or you look and see that the business coming, like when economy comes back, maybe the industry that you're in right now will become more too competitive for you to remain in it, right? And so it's an opportunity for you to just evaluate the landscape, right? And again, you know, there are all kinds of things out there. Look, all of the software that I know now, I taught myself. I literally taught myself. And you know, when I left the School of Visual Arts all those many years ago, we were chiseling on rocks to read homework assignments. And I was flying into school on a pterodactyl, right? After that is when the Apple computer came out, right? So the Apple computer wasn't out when I was in school. It came out afterwards. So I had to adapt. I went and bought this very expensive computer, Diane, and had no way of knowing how to do so I read the manual from cover to cover first. And then there were these VHS training tapes at the time. And I ordered those and I watched them and I would stay up and I watched them and I watched them. And through getting through all of those tapes in the software programs that I thought were the ones I needed to move into the desktop publishing and graphic arts career that I wanted to go into, I finished all of those and then I went and applied for a job. And I got a job, Diane, and I wound up working for Viacom. I worked for Paramount. I became the art director for Prentice Hall, right? You know what I'm saying? And I started developing and then I kept learning. I kept reading. But those things now, you know, you don't get VHS tapes, but that same company, VTC, V like Victor, T like Tom, C like Charlie, VTC, online training. You can go there, get a monthly subscription, and every single software program out there is available for you to sit and learn.
So I can go back and brush up on my COBOL training.
You can. Not only can you brush up on it, Diane, they certify you.
Oh, okay, because you know, my that was my degree in computer science and business management. My friend who's still in IT down in Atlanta said, you know, you need to brush up on your COBOL skills because they still need people to maintain these mainframes that they can't get rid of. I was like, what? He was like, yeah. He was like, we can't get rid of them. We can only phase out so much of it, but they still need people to be able to maintain them. So you're right. This is a great opportunity for people to learn stuff. Because I know Princeton University and many other universities and Brown University offer free online classes.
Yeah.
Various different things, whether it's in regards to business, liberal arts stuff, like everything under the sun. Free classes, online classes.
This is what I would suggest. And this is one of the things that the government can do, right? So instead of just giving free money, the government could do that, right? They could say during this pandemic, right, anybody who wants to, we're going to we're just going to open it up, and you can have a free access to, you know, to sites like this, right? So that you can retool yourself to get ready for emerging markets that are going to come out of this pandemic. Do you know what I'm saying, Diane? Like we have to begin to invest in human capital. Right? Not just give money. So I would be looking at things like that where say, wait a minute, you got places like that where people can learn they can learn about cybersecurity. Cybersecurity right now, do you know how many jobs are available? And if you were in the cybersecurity market right now, you'd be able to work from home.
Absolutely. Majority of IT people are working from home. Absolutely.
But you got people right now, Diane, who are sitting home waiting for their cashier job to open up again.
So this is an opportunity. You got those, and you know, a lot of these jobs, especially with IT. I can't remember because I haven't applied for an IT job. I haven't applied for a job in I don't know how long. But anyway, an IT job, what the requirements are. Usually, they just want your skill requirement. They're not even looking to see if you have a high school diploma or a college degree. They just want the skill set to make sure that you know how to do it and get it done. So this is definitely an opportunity for many people to say, you know, heck with going back to be a cashier, heck with, you know, doing this menial job. Not that it's not good for some people, but this is my opportunity. I can really grow. As well as the medical field, everybody's going to be needing nurses because they have a shortage of especially Black American nurses. Yes. So I tell you, they need to go, and you can go. I know they're doing the online classes now because of the coronavirus. Union County College, they give you once you finish, it's a 2-year program, you become a registered nurse. you do the additional 2 years, and then now you have your degree in nursing.
Yeah.
But and nurses start off literally $75,000 a year. That's in New Jersey. That's good money. Good money. And you don't have to work in the hospital. You can work in the schools. You can work for private
Do
companies.
you know that there's a shortage of pharmacists?
Yes.
There's a shortage of pharmacists, guys.
Yeah.
Like literally a shortage of pharmacists. So, so this is an opportunity, but this is where I say people have to be intellectually curious, right? Instead of just looking at their current circumstance and just living in that space. And that's why I'm saying, so you have so many people, Diane, who literally, the only news that they're watching now is how much money they're going to get in a check.
Mm-hmm. Now, you know,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Something my mom told me when 9/11 happened, and you know, and I was sitting at home, and I guess she got tired of me sitting in her recliner in her room, not bathing and just watching TV all day and night. She said, you know, you can sit here as long as you want and soak in what's going on. She said, but life is going to keep going.
Yeah.
Regardless. So you got to figure out, you know, what you're going to do. Are you going to stay here in this spot? Or are you going to get up and move on? And I will never forget that. And I was just like, and she was saying this as she was getting dressed to go to work. and I'm still sitting in the chair, you know, panics, like I can't do anything. And like I said earlier with Vincent, in the middle of closing on a house, just like my whole house. And then I started to think about it. She was like, if the world ends, then that's one thing. She said, but the world doesn't end. You still going to need somewhere to live because you can't keep sleeping on my recliner. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't keep sitting here.
You're
like,
right.
You got to move forward.
You know, somebody asked me the other day, they said, Eric, with your, you know, your baking business that you've started, you know, how you doing? And I said, well, we lost almost all of our clients right now. Right, because we were servicing restaurants, you know, and stores, and a lot of them are closed now. And I think we have maybe 2. And so they said, well, you know, what are you going to do? I said, you know, I'm going to spend my time building a business. So we're currently working on the web. All the things that I talked to you about, Diane, we're working on a website, right? The marketing material that I use to get the current clientele that we have, I retooled that marketing material, right? And it's ready to go out. That really talks about, you know, hey, you know, I hope you guys are weathering, you know, this pandemic and doing well. We want you to know that we here thinking about you. See, because you want to build a relationship, right? You want to solidify that relationship and not just say, you know what, you know, I just had this business monetary relationship with you, but no, I care about you. And those things go a long way. Right.
Absolutely.
And, you know, so doing those kinds of things, sending out personal notes to your clients. So that's another thing. If you are a beautician or a barber or whatever, those clients that have been loyal to you, they're suffering right now, just like you may be. But if you could take and send a note to them, right, that just says, hey, you know, just checking in on you, make sure that you're good. You know, whether it's a mailed out note or a text message or something, it goes a long way to solidifying that bond.
Absolutely. I sent out emails to all my clients, current and past clients, last week on Monday. And I got a lot of responses back. I got a phone call 2 days ago or 3 days ago from Ashley Stewart, the local store, calling to see if everything was okay. And I said to myself, yeah, I shot way too much in there.
No, but you know what, though? They value you.
I appreciated her phone call.
Yes,
I
you did. Absolutely. You know, if you're a realtor, here's a time for you. If you're a realtor, here's a time for you to go through your Rolodex, right? And then people that you've helped, you know, get houses, you know, buy homes, sell homes, rent properties, all those kinds of things. Go back and just touch base with them. Hey, you know what are you doing? You never know. See, it's out of sight, out of mind. But if you're now, you know, connected with them, they may say, hey, you know what? I was just thinking about you. I was thinking about doing this thing. Are you going to be available for me to call and blah, 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 blah? So you never know what opportunity might exist. But just spend time, you know, just kind of tinkering and fine-tuning your business. Do that.
Yeah.
I redid my business cards, Diane.
No, I didn't get one.
You didn't get it? I'm looking for...
you could send me.
Huh?
You the mail still goes out. You can mail it.
No, I'm looking for him.
Oh, okay.
Here's what the old card looked like. I don't know if you can see it,
Let me see.
right? But it'll show up on the screen at some point. And
Yeah.
maybe if Amina's paying attention to the show, she'll come into the studio and give me a new card so I can show it to you. But I redid the business cards. Like I said, I'm working on the website. The other marketing material is being done.
Yeah, nice.
We're still contacting farmers markets and festivals and other kinds of things to say, if you're going to be, in business, then, we're ready to do business with you, and we're making sure all of our paperwork is concerned. You have been a gem to us, and so, we secured our insurance through the DLM insurance company, so plug for you. You know what I'm saying? But we're moving forward.
Right. Now, that's good. Now, that's something that we're talking about, business and stuff. There has been a particular business by a particular, not culture, particular people that I don't see open now, which is interesting because they are the majority takeout businesses. So did you see the article that I sent you that the Attorney General in New York set up a hotline this week for people to report any hate crimes and bias incidents against Asian Americans during the coronavirus pandemic? What are your thoughts about that?
I'm gonna
get a hate crime hotline. That thing would never stop ringing.
Well, I'm gonna respond to that in a second. Can I just give these updates? Somebody just sent me an update.
Go ahead.
So the updates on COVID-19 is wait a minute, where is it? It says the latest on COVID-19 pandemic from Johns Hopkins. Global confirmed cases 542,788 total. Total deaths 24,361. Total recoveries 124,351. In the U.S., confirmed cases 85,996. The total deaths 1,300. Total recoveries 753. That is the latest information on the pandemic. Now, your question about the
hotline for hate crimes or biases against Asian Americans.
Well,
they have a hotline in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there should be a hotline just in general, right? There should be no bias or hate crimes or against anybody. And to single out one group over another, to say that there should be a specific hotline for one group as opposed to just a general hotline that says nobody should have to endure that, I think is problematic.
And how do you think people should start to address that? Because there are a lot of things that are happening that we don't address. We talk about it, but people don't really address that what a government agency has done to specifically single out somebody to provide protections for them is not right.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry, Diane. So literally, as we speak, I've got a municipality that ordered those masks that didn't order in a quantity large enough. I'm having to tell them right now that sorry that I won't be able to get their masks delivered to them. Okay. What were we saying again now?
What do we do about the hotline? How do we address the hotline to let the Attorney General in New York know that that's unacceptable to set up a hotline specifically for Asian Americans? Do we tell her directly? Do we go to the office and start calling the office? Or on the flip side, do we take that hotline and take it, what do you say, storm the castle and make that hotline ours and report all the bias and hate crimes for us?
Well, I think that I would call. Look, if you if you have a hate crime, if you feel like you're a victim of a hate crime, I would call every number available. Right? I wouldn't just go and try to single out. If I'm an African American, I wouldn't just say, or Foundational Black American, I wouldn't just say, let me go call the Foundational Black American hotline, right? Because no, I would call every available hotline and say that that I'm a victim of a hate crime. I'd call if the first one that comes to your mind is the Chinese one, or if you believe, understand this right now, because the squeaky wheel makes the most noise, right? So what's happening right now, because Donald Trump is calling it the Chinese virus, right, is stoking all kinds of animosity by ignorant people toward our Asian brothers and sisters, right? So that seems to, be the hotline to call. So if I'm a foundational Black American, I'm gonna call and say that there's a hate, I'm a victim of a hate crime, and I'm gonna challenge them to hang up on me because I'm not Chinese. See, because as a human being, right? See, so what are they gonna say? Oh, Mr. Dawson, you're not Chinese, so we have to redirect your call. You right? Call a go.
Hey, this is Diane. So, are you saying that it's a specific line for that, or is it just a general line to call to report hate?
No, it's a specific line set up specifically for Asian Americans, for any bias against them, any bias or hate crimes against them, for that line, them specific.
Oh well, I think that I guess you're right. That's like inappropriate. I don't think you do it. Either it's a hate crimes hotline or it's not, right? I think that is crazy to say we're going to do a specific. What is that number? So everybody can call up to whomever and complain about that, because that is inappropriate. You don't single out.
Yeah,
people in the crime. Like that's just not how it goes. I mean, if you want to have a hotline for bias, just have a hotline for bias, but not for bias for Chinese. Right? Which brings me to when everybody was talking about Donald Trump and saying how he was calling it the Chinese virus, and that was increasing hate crimes. And I was bothered by the news because they were reporting it as well. But you're saying, Mr. President is creating possible tensions and people doing inappropriate things to Asians. The appropriate response to that, in my opinion, was, well, then lock up the people that break the law by doing harm to somebody. But don't tell why say that I can't say where this something originated from. But when the problem isn't what Donald Trump is saying, the problem is the people taking not even law into their own hands, just being violent and inappropriate. Right? I don't think that you just don't accept that at all. Right? So I would say for that, you can't have a separate hotline for them. Just let them call the police like anybody calls the police.
Right.
And say, hey, somebody's messing with Asian people, and we deal with it like that.
Right. So let me just so it's more clear. The Attorney General, Letty James, launched a hotline this week for people to report hate crimes and bias incidents against Asian Americans during the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. So she specifically set up a hotline this week for them. So it's not the same general hotline as before. And what's interesting to me is, it's always interesting to me as why we as Black Americans are the person that they put up front to help everyone else but ourselves.
Well, that's because we volunteer for it. They don't put us up. We volunteer for that. We're always trying to help everybody else. Those people don't come to us. We go to them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in most circumstances, right? Like, if you really think about it historically, Black folks, we love to jump in somebody else's problem. Nobody got to come over to us and be like, hey, Black folks, join in with us. We join in with people that ain't inviting us in.
That's
in all honesty, right? We go with people who tell us they don't want our help.
Yeah, we push our way in the door anyway, right? I'm gonna help you at the expense. That's what I'm saying. So we have to put our own masks on. We have to stop worrying about other people's masks.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying about me. That's how I started the show, right? By saying, look.
Oh God, no.
I'm not getting on my soapbox, Diane. But I'm putting my mask on. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so wait. So here's the next thing before you hang up, Farrakhan. So I read an article also that talked about don't be shocked if Trump tries to delay the election. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was expecting that anyway. I don't know if it's necessary. I don't know what the laws go. Like, I know, like, during war they used to like suspend it for a period of time.
Not
so
now.
I'm gonna assume that they do that now, right? And as long as everybody wants to keep referring to this as a war, right? Then that becomes, an acceptable thing. I'm not really worried about it. Either way I see it, Donald Trump is going to be president again.
Right. So let's
So you think even in this pandemic that we're going through, that the people, especially Black Americans, will run out there and vote for him?
No, Diane, do you understand Donald Trump?
I don't know what
Donald Trump has.
the Black Americans are going to vote
I'm
for.
going to give you the numbers, though.
He's going to be the hero of
Donald
America.
Trump has a 60% approval rating right now on how he's handling this pandemic.
Right. He's the hero of
His
America.
approval rating right now is higher than it's ever been. Now, here's what does happen. See, they were very strategic in calling it a war, right? Because during wartime, Americans rally around the wartime president, right? And so Donald Trump is saying, I'm at war. I need to unite the country to battle this war. I think I mentioned this on the other show.
An invisible war. That's what he called it. You're right.
And so what's happening right now, understand, the Democrats are trying to figure out how to attack a wartime president without being seen as unpatriotic. You see? You understand what I'm saying, Diane? And so go ahead. Go ahead.
So from this article, they said that Trump could very well follow the example of his mentor and benefactor, Vladimir Putin, as he pushes and extends his power with a proposal that gives him the ability to run for two additional 6-year terms in Russia, meaning that his office wouldn't expire until 2024. However, here, paper ballots with mail-in voting nationwide could preserve our federal election in November, but already the lack of time is being used as already an excuse not to do it.
Well, look, I don't think that the Constitution is going to permit it. I think that there is going to be an election, but at the end of the day, what benefits Donald Trump is the fact that, for the most part, campaigning has been suspended. You've got Joe Biden now in his basement trying to set up a broadcasting thing, right? And you have Bernie Sanders, who can't hold these massive 25,000 person rallies. I'm sure they haven't even talked about fundraising, but Biden has almost no money. Bernie, I'm sure, is not raising because his campaign was based on momentum, right? Based on energy, and him not being out there and all of that. There's no energy. Bernie just kind of looks like an old 78-year-old guy, who's behind a desk now. So I'm just giving you.
Like an old grandpa.
I'm just giving you what.
Hold on, let's be clear, y'all. He doesn't look like that. That's what he is.
No. Please don't
white
interrupt.
guy
Let me finish what I.
trying to tell the rest of the world what to do.
Right. So let me finish what I was saying, please. So I'm saying that he looked like an energetic person when he was on the stage with tens of thousands of young people screaming Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. Now that he's in a room by himself, he looks like a 78-year-old white guy, right? Biden looks like an old white guy, right? Just sitting there. Donald Trump, however, I don't care what you think about him, Donald Trump is holding these White House press conferences every day, presenting himself as a wartime president, right? You understand what I'm saying? And so that being drummed into the psyche of the voter day after day after day is going to take its toll. And I think that it's going to lead to Donald Trump's numbers going higher, and especially the economy comes, because it's going to come back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Once that happens, once people get their checks and start losing their minds, you understand what I'm saying? Once all of that starts to happen, it's going to be a whole different story.
So, Democratic Senators Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota and Ron Wyden of Oregon have introduced a National Disaster and Emergency Ballot Act of 2020 to protect the November 3rd election. Let's see if the Republicans support it. The postponing of the Democratic primaries sets a very dangerous precedent. Ohio is indeed the bellwether state where Republican Governor Mike DeWine's postponement of the March 17th Democratic primary. With the serious disruption in people's lives and the health crisis that we're facing, many people may get distracted unless you want Donald Trump's lack of leadership to continue into the unforeseeable future. So that's basically what you said. Him being up there, things happening, people may gloss over and not participate in the elections, and his people will come out and vote him back in.
Yeah. Well, not just his people. Listen, there are people who are going to look and say, you know what? Yeah, I didn't like this about him. I didn't like that about him. I didn't like the way that he talked about this. Look, I want to apologize to the people on Facebook. I'm looking at my frame rate dropping, and I'm sure that has to do with overall bandwidth, people, trying to get on. So if it's interrupting, go to YouTube. I think they're doing a much better job. But it has, Diane, to do with what they say, politics are a game of current circumstances. Current circumstances. So you want to drag me back to Russiagate? You want to drag me back to impeachment? You want to drag me back to all of that? Meanwhile, I'm getting ready to live, according to a lot of these people who are getting ready to get these checks, I'm going to be living my best life for the next 8 weeks, right? Because I'm going to get money, right? And so now when you look at it, who signed it? Right? Who provided this relief? Now, we can argue whether or not the economy should be coming back. Now, I got my opinion about that. I think that I think it needs to come back. It needs to be an accordion unfolding of the economy, right? You can't, certainly New York, because it seems to be the epicenter right now of this pandemic here in America. You shouldn't be looking at New York. But if you've got a state where you've got, say, 2 confirmed cases, right? Then you don't treat that state and that state's economy the same way you treat New York, right? Those people don't have to be restricted like the ones in New York, right? You can do some different things there. And so, in as much as I beat up on Donald Trump and the rest of them, if that's what he's talking about when he says, look, we need to look at the data and then let the data drive us in terms of how optimistic we are about the unfolding of the economy, then I agree with that.
But hey, Eric, that's based on if you're more concerned about the economy. Because if you're more concerned about this pandemic, they would say, no, the actual appropriate thing to do was to lock it all down so that you can keep the spread from going. Saying that there's only 2 cases over here, if you let everything be wide open, there'll be 4, then there'll be 8, and then there'll be 12.
But wait a minute, but we don't know, right? See, stop. But wait a minute, but we got to do
we do know that. We do know that.
Okay, but
that's an absolute. I got you.
No,
but we know that. We know that if you do not contain it.
No. So we have to do this properly, I think. They're basing everything on science, right? And on modeling. And so when they were talking about shutting down, they were looking at, when they look at the modeling, they're looking at density of communities. So whether they're basing it on Spain, whether they're basing it on Italy or China, they're looking at density. So if you're in a community where you don't have the same density, so why do it's surprise that Newark is Newark number 2 or 3 on the list? I think 3, right? Right? New York is number 2. Right.
Essex County is number 2. Newark is probably number 3.
Right.
As a city.
But when you look at the density, right, it's no surprise. When you look at the density of New York, there's no surprise that they're having these issues. But I don't think that you have a single approach to this thing. I think you have to look at the circumstances. So if you've got a more rural community where you could open up an economy where everybody doesn't have to be locked down, right? Because if my neighbor is 5 miles away, why do I have to be in my house? See, that's what I'm talking about, right?
Because when that neighbor who's 5 miles away that is infected, whether he knows or not, if he drives 5 miles into town,
no,
it will now affect everybody in town.
Right. I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying is this. So, but it's different, right? Because just like we have to go to stores, right? So if you lock everything down, then the ShopRite's not open. Then the Stop and Shop's not open. You lock everything down, then nothing is open. It's not feasible. Literally, it's not feasible, right? Right? In the winter, wait a minute. In the winter, in the cold weather, for people who over these last couple days were dipped to the 30s, if they ran out of oil and they needed oil in their tank, right? It's not feasible not to have somebody bringing oil and filling up their tank. It's not feasible. What are we talking about? So there's some things that have to be open. And so we have to look at the circumstances and decide based on circumstances what things can open. You can't shut it all down. I agree with him there. I disagree with him on probably 99.99999% of things. But we are not meant to be completely shut down. You can't do it. You can't.
Not living in the city because we are relying on other businesses, such as food businesses, industries to supply us with stuff. Now, if we lived out on the farm in Ohio or even in the farm in Pennsylvania, we might be able to do that. But being able to get food and stuff like that, we wouldn't be able to completely shut everything down. And then if you're talking about shutting everything down, you're talking about you want to shut down the deliveries. So you're going to shut down the post office. Federal government, postal workers never close.
And I agree with Dre Sandrock. Listen, here's the question for you, Farrakhan, and we're almost out of time. But here's the question: all of these people, right, who are going to get this,
stimulus.
I'm not calling it stimulus. I'm calling it democratic socialism.
You got to say stimulus check.
Democratic socialism.
This is the problem that happened with Obamacare. People running out there, Obamacare. It's not. It's Affordable Care Act.
It's democratic socialism.
So people are confused.
Right? So people are getting a check right now. They're talking about people going back to work at some point. If everything shuts down, it's not like a single switch that turns on, Farrakhan, and then people have to go back to work. So all of the mortgages that people have to pay, all the college tuitions that people have to pay, all the car notes that people have to pay, they have to be paid through these businesses that they work for. So as much as we want to demonize the businesses, and yes, I think that we need to have safeguards to ensure that this $500 billion or whatever it is, crazy amount of money that they want to give to them, that they ensure that these companies are not going to enrich themselves. But they also have to make sure that these companies are solvent enough to be able to bring employees back so that they can work and pay these bills. That has to happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You got property
ahead,
owners that need that rent money.
Yes. So this, people, but this is where the lack of intellectuality for people who are complaining on this one, and I'm not talking about you, Farrakhan, because I know you read. I'm talking about these other folks who are disconnected with how big business helps them pay their bills. When you drive into that job, right, and then you get this check every 2 weeks, or you get the deposit into your bank every 2 weeks, well, that business has to run.
Let me ask you this one question right before the show is over. Do you think that it would have been better to approach it from worst case scenario and work backwards to eradicate the problem? Or should we work on this problem as we'll deal with it based on the very moment? See, right now we're dealing with it based on the moment. This is how many cases we have. This is what we're going to do. So this is what we'll do. If it gets worse, then we'll take another step forward. If it gets worse, we'll take another step forward. Wouldn't it have been better to say, what is the most extreme measures we could take? Let's take them from the gate and work backwards and eradicate the situation. That's the position that I hold. I think that we are failing by saying, well, we'll see how bad it gets and if we can control the situation.
Right, but here becomes the issue, right? So if we were purely socialistic, if we were a socialist country, right, then you could do what China did You could just say, you know what? Boom. We're shutting everything down. We're going to because you have, because of the intricacies of how we function, we have to think about the capitalism that takes place here, right? So you can't just approach it over here. You got to say, you know what? When I put too much weight, so if you look at a teeter-totter, right? Or in the park, if you put too much weight on this side goes up. You put too much weight on this side, this one goes up. And this one goes down. You have to say, how do I strike that balance as we make these decisions? And now there's some people say, oh, well, we should take human life. That should be.
Honestly, that's the position that I take.
No, okay, I get it. So now, but here we go. Ready? So human life is also sustained by you being able to eat, by you being able to be in a warm apartment when it's 30 degrees outside. Right? Human life is sustained by those things too. So if you're not thinking long term about once we get out of this, right, how is everybody positioned to continue to live, then you could have more death. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You have more death.
I got you. I don't see it that way. I would have saw it, one, for me, as I would understand it, or how I view it. Big. We come out of this, if there had been the extreme measures, right? Let's just say everything was shut down for 1 month so that you could find all cases, control it, and so forth, right? If we did that, then you're saying, well, what would happen to these businesses when people have to go back to their regular life? People would still need the same goods and services. So those companies that were in effect previous would still be needed now. So, again, when you open back up, right, those same companies could go back to regular work and production and being productive.
No.
Now,
dude, you got to go back to the depression.
Now, with the democratic socialism thing, would it take for the government to step in to hold it down? Yes. So that's why we pay our taxes. That's why we, give up to the government. So guess what, government? Here is the time you have to be 100 and step up and maintain, hold down these airports, hold down the barbershops, hold down the car companies, hold down the electric companies. Do it. So that, make sure that nobody or none of these industries lose so that they can maintain. That's what should have been done. But we didn't do that. Instead, we're trying to juggle what's going to happen. And now we're going to let corporate waste and corporate greedy companies tell us what they cannot do or how they can't function or how they're going to default on loans and so forth because of the shutdown. That is a failure of this system.
Well, no, the failure of the system, and we're out of time, but the failure of the system is that we didn't get involved. And so what we have is an overrun in Washington of politicians who are directly paid through their campaigns by these corporations that you're talking about, and outnumbered, and they're outnumbered by lobbyists who are writing policies that are protecting these corporations that you're talking about. And our failure to watch the gate and to ensure that we have people down there who would be advocating time of need, that lands on the American people. Thanks for calling. Thanks for tuning in. You guys have a great day. Shelter in place. Stop the spread. Flatten the curve.
That's right. Thank you.